Me personally, I think it's all because of the SEC. They slammed us with the case, and now there's so much uncertainty, and people are just scared and like
I don't think that's
to
substantial enough, man. I don't think our buyers.
No,
I don't think the crypto industry.
nobody cares
I don't
about
think the
the
United
SEC.
States. I don't think the United States has ever made a dent in crypto.
Yeah, this is
So
a big
I don't think
Chinese operation.
the SEC will never stop me from doing anything. The SEC will actually just make it more bullish for me if that happens. So what the government has just been doing is just making it easier for me to just make more money in crypto. As an individual that's not in that geolocation, I have an amazing tax. I have everything. The possibilities of crypto are endless if you're just in the right place. But the thing what people don't understand is even where I am is still a little proportion of what's actually is the number, since there's always like a conglomerate of constant inflows always coming from the same spot, exchanges, the early wallets, just where everything is very Asian. So the Asians are really here. They're always here. So they run it, and whether we disappear or not, they're still gonna run it. I just think that it's like what people don't get is that whatever you could do with ETH, you could do with Pulsechain. You can't do that with the other EVMs. So it becomes to a point where why have it on Ethereum when you could just have it on Pulsechain? Because that's what
yeah.
happens because of the dual liquidity factor, because we have everything on one side and the other. Well, there doesn't become that much of a risk, because what we could do is just allow people. Well, we could create the liquidity on Ethereum and allow liquidity on Pulsechain and allow people to bridge in their ERC20s and to then give these ERC20s values on Pulsechain, meaning that you could use these ERC20s that are bridged in to do whatever you want on any other chain at low cost efficient, and you could connect to every chain that ETH is connected to. It's harder for the other chains to do it because they always need to bring into their chain. We don't have to bring anything into our chain. We could just go to Ethereum, make a liquidity, and then everything in our system becomes valuable, and we could just bridge out everything after from our place. So you could use Pulsechain as like an L1, as an L2, but it's an L1. So it has a lot more potential because it's like you could create L2s off of it. So like just like how Arbitrum, Optimism, zk Sync are all made on top of the EVM of Ethereum, and also how the new EIP is going to affect them. Well, we could just run that same EIP on Pulsechain and allow them to just have an L2 on Pulsechain, which would technically make their fees even more cheaper. So there's a lot of possibilities with Pulsechain just because it is a copy of ETH, like to almost its entireness.
All right. If we go back to why Pulsechain is not doing so well now, would it be possible because of all of the whales dumping on us, and now the people are seeing the prices that are quite
Wait. Who said
skeptical and they don't want to
No, I don't think
invest?
who said it's not
I think
doing
it's
well?
strictly related.
What do
I
you
think it's
mean?
strictly correlated to the bridged in assets. We don't have any liquidity on ETH, therefore we don't have a stable liquidity. Our liquidity is just based off bridged in assets. So in order for people to profit off of our system and to say that our system is liquid or profitable, it literally needs to take it out of Pulsechain and go back to ETH to say, okay, yeah, there's value. Like there's value that could be extracted, but there's too much being extracted because of the fact that there's nothing on Ethereum. So there's no everything's on Pulsechain. So the only reason to profit is to take out of Pulsechain. As to if everyone were to just make a liquidity on ETH, well, they could just dump their bags, and there would still be a liquidity. There would still be money flowing, and people would still buy up. The buy can't really buy. There's no point in buying up people on Pulsechain when they take it out of Pulsechain. There's really no point. So I think that's the problem right now, is that people don't get that they just got extracted. Well,
Maybe
I think we extracted ourselves. It's kind of like a virus feeding off of itself until it dies off. If you want me to be honest, I think it's like a virus. Just right now, it's dying, and the virus of Hexaco is just dying. So plus, also you have to understand that a lot of the things are all heavily bonded. So Hex,
Yep.
Pulse, Pulsex, and most of the bridging and assets, which eHex is one of them, Wrap Bitcoin, Ethereum move together. So they're not really two forces that bring it up. And also we're very stable coin. We have 60% of our chain is stable coin. So if people are just waiting it out right now and they're just holding, money, well, it's not going to push the price up because there's no room. The money that's being provided as liquidity is most of the money that's bridged in, which is not healthy. It should be the opposite. It should be most of the money bridged in is not in liquidity.
Yeah, I agree to some of the points, and yeah, I think that might be the case, as we are just like a virus feeding of itself and then dying, basically. It's I hope that's not the case, but yeah, I see what you mean.
I think it is because the sacrifice was the way that the way that we got our Pulsechain tokens and Pulsex in past history, all performing forks or projects or L1s that came out with that same type of model where it's like give and receive. They always go down. Why they go down is always different, but they always do go down. But I think that's just because of the redistribution of the token supply. People don't understand the power they have at the beginning with the percentage they get, and some people get out of that percentage because a lot of people didn't understand the value of Pulse because they never were taught the value of ETH. So right now you're just looking at the after effects of a lot of people not understanding what they value, if you want my opinion. So it's basically a whole chain up for grabs right now. Because if it does drop an extra zero, well then a big 10 times more of the percentage of the supply is available for you to buy it for whatever money you're able to buy it, right? So when was the best time to buy ETH? Well, technically not at the beginning. It was when after it launched, right? But you didn't have a Uniswap to really buy it like that, right? So I think this is different because we have different factors, right? We deployed a chain with an like the chain deployed a DEX, the chain deployed the bridge. So a lot of things that didn't exist on the other chains started right away. So you have factors that you have to take into consideration that people get to jump the gun really fast and not wait and learn and see what's happening. So that everything was being done fast. People's hands rushing, people not knowing what they need to do. People weren't properly advised because the Hexicans, a lot of the Hexican influencers are ex crackheads that had never been in crypto. So it's hard for the community to have actually understood what needed to be done at the beginning because of what actions had occurred. But now I think it's just an effect of like the percentage of the supply is being redistributed at the wealth correlated to how much the chain is actually worth. So like right now you could buy it at whatever it is. It's because it's technically down that much. Because we gave about in reality, I think we gave like what $500 million for it, approximately. I wouldn't say like 1.2 billion. I'd say I'd give it 500 max, and 700 was put in, 600 was took out. So the numbers are kind of like not bad, but it's not healthy, right? It's not good, but I don't see it going. I'm not fudding it saying it's dead. I'm just saying like we're just doing the wrong stuff. We're using the wrong token as LP. Like we had the chance to not use the L1 token wrap, right? Because everyone wants to use the L1 as liquidity, but that's stupid because you're wrapping the token, and they didn't realize that the same CC2 contract is on our thing.
Maybe and maybe Pulsechain will catch on one day like this. It's like because it's so cheap and innovative and much better than Ethereum.
People will follow the multiplier. It doesn't matter what it is. If the people are new to crypto, they'll follow whatever those X's are doing.
Yes, so I agree. Yeah, that's most of the time people just follow.
Well, it was basically because they kept changing. He kept changing the story about what was going to be coming out and what was going to be produced. And then in the end, when he just whatever, nothing to discuss there. He can do what he wants.
Well, it is what it is, man. You make the opportunities that you see. And I'm making $100 a day on Pulsechain every single day without having to lift a finger, except for to go click and harvest my money. So it's sitting there. And then I sell it. I'm not talking about WePulse. I'm talking about liquid loans.
No, yeah. Stability pool or whatever, right?
No, not even stability pool anymore, man. We're just LP farming. So the LP rewards is good for another 9 days. After that, gonna have to figure out the next thing, man. And I think just buying Pulse, going to liquid loans, and taking out, taking out a loan with your Pulse might be the best strategy now that's low, and then just waiting for it to bounce back up. Because if I took my money right now, let me put it this way. If I farmed until the end of the liquid loans LP reward thing, which is 42 days or 6 weeks, I would end up making in the next 9 days, I would make about another $900. Okay, let's say $100 a day. If I put my money into Pulse and it just goes back up 7%, which is how much it's down today, but I do it the way I wanted to, which is looping it. So I'm basically 2x long. Like say I put in all my money, borrow some USDL, buy Pulse, put it back in, borrow more USDL, do that 3 times, that would have me looped at 2x. You know, do it to where I'm borrowing basically what I put in. So if I put in 10,000, I would be borrowing 10,000 against it, but be holding 20K, if that makes sense. But then if Pulse goes up, say 7%, I'd really make 14%, right? So if I make 14%, instead of farming for 9 days, like let's say it just bounces like tomorrow, right? If I make 14% of my bag from here, you know, I could make at least $3,000 on this one wallet. And it could bounce 7% anytime in the next 8 days or 9 days, right? I mean, that just fell 7% in one day. Tomorrow it could be right back up. So just simply by farming, I may be missing an opportunity to buy this dip and collateralize and loop it in some way and get a free long, quote unquote, free long, because I won't be paying any ongoing interest on liquid loans to keep that long open. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. You just got to worry about that. Whatever percentage that is. Or is it just 200 flat? It's 200 flat, right? Maybe that's why I'm looking at it weird.
What, collateralization ratio?
Yeah, the collateralization.
Okay, let's talk about this, because this is confusing. When you first get on here,
No.
you're like, what is all this stuff?
Well, the collateralization, you got to be over collateralized. That I know. So,
well, you know, forget about that, because that's just confusing people. So let's just start from the top. Most platforms don't use this model. They use an LTV, loan to value. So it's like, how much is my loan to the value of my collateral? So if you have $100 and you borrow $50, your LTV would be 50% LTV, 50% loan to value of your collateral. Now they reverse it on this. It's backwards, where it's collateralization. So you would have 110% collateralized is the minimum before you get liquidated, because they'll liquidate you at 110. Like your entire loan is wiped out, but your collateral is too. So this is where people get really confused, because they're like, oh, I'm over collateralized, blah, 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 blah. Just forget about that, because all that means is that you have more than $1 collateral for every dollar that you're borrowing, which if you reverse it to the other model I was saying, they let you borrow 90.9 cents on the dollar. So 90.9% max LTV before you get liquidated. Okay. So it's a lot. It's very high. Most platforms, they have a liquidation threshold at 85 or at 80, because they would have a max at 75 or 80. And again, they just add on extra 5% for liquidation. So here, they'll let you borrow right up to your liquidation point. Sketchy. That's one problem. That's 110. Don't ever do that. The second thing is understanding normal mode versus recovery mode. So that's where you're getting confused about the 200% thing, because when we're in normal mode, anything above 150% is, anything above 110% is good, right? When you get into recovery mode, 150% is that number. So you have to have more, okay? And it's just showing you like yellow and green, which are the health. Like, so above 200 is like green, it's normal, healthy. Between 150 and 200 is like normal, yellow, you know? But then if you're between 110 and 150, that's orange, it's bad, they're in recovery mode. And again, that's when you'll need to have at least 150% collateralization. So the 200 thing, all that means is that you're borrowing 50 cents on the dollar, if you look at it that way. You know, because you're like, oh, 200%. If you're 200% collateralized, that literally means you have $2 in there for every dollar you borrowed. So you're borrowing 50 cents on the dollar, okay? But you don't have to have it that high. The riskiest fault is like 140 something percent. Let's see what they're at. Okay, some dude's about to get liquidated right now. He's dumb. Someone, for whatever reason, let themselves be at 110. Yeah, so someone took out $9,800 in debt against their 189 million pulse, and they're going to find out very quickly that they're going to lose all of this. Okay, I'm going to look them up and see why they did this real quick. USDL. They are minting fresh USDL. Comes in a fresh existence, didn't exist before you created it, before you borrowed it, just like a bank. So you go there, you say, hey, I got $10,000 in Pulse, deposit it, borrow 5,000. That is a 200% collateralization. Okay. Now, if Pulse drops and that collateralization hits 110%, the money you borrowed will get repaid. This is the liquidation. It will get repaid by the stability pool. This is where you stake USDL to earn. The stability pool guys get back your Pulse plus 10%. This is where they get money. They get back the collateral. So you would lose your entire collateral, but you would not owe that USDL debt. Now, this is the problem. Most people take that money and spend it, or they take that money that they borrowed and loop it Like say you bought more Pulse and just simply collateralized again. Like let's see what this dude did, because he obviously doesn't know what the heck he's doing. He made a big mistake. He's an idiot. I think what he did was he removed money from his collateral. This dude made a big mistake because he withdrew so much of his collateral that now his entire vault's going to get liquidated. So he's going to lose his 189 million Pulse. That's going to go poof, bye-bye. He's not going to owe $9,893 anymore, but he'll lose 10% overall. So 10% of 189 million Pulse. It's a lot of Pulse.
Yeah, but that's what I mean with that 10%. He loses the complete 189 million Pulse, right? So
what happens is, again, he collateralized Pulse, he borrowed USDL, right? Now he's at risk of liquidation. His USDL will get repaid, and the Pulse will go to people who repaid the USDL, which is the stability pool. So his debt's repaid. He doesn't owe the money. His Pulse is gone, but the Pulse goes to the people who paid that debt off, and they get the 10%. So yeah, he's losing everything.
That's why they take a little bit of USDL out every time you get a liquidation event. You lose a little bit of USDL out of your stability pool.
Yeah, but you get 10% more Pulse. Unless Pulse just dumped another couple percent. You know what I mean? It's all relative to the price of Pulse. Like, let's say in this exact moment, this dude right now is at 110%. Like, exactly. I don't know why it's taking so long for this to refresh, but this liquidate button should be popping up any second. And then he's going to get liquidated by a bot. Like literally any second. I think it refreshes every 15 minutes or something. So if you look at the risky vaults on the liquidations page, you can see he's at 110.0000. So maybe he made the mistake of withdrawing. I mean, let me look at on-chain real quick. Hold on. He did this 54 minutes ago. So what happened in the last 54 minutes? So Pulse, what is this guy doing? And it's crazy because he's got a lot of money in this wallet too. So like he's got it. So he's sitting here in liquid loans. He has net. He's going to lose $950 basically by doing this dumb move, thinking that he's wiping out his debt. And he's only going to lose a little bit. He's going to lose $900. He's going to lose his $10,800 of Pulse, but his $9,900 with USDL is going to get wiped out. Now he's holding 5,000 net in fiat and in this fiat position in Pulse and Hex, and then he's also holding $100,000 on SparkSwap between SDAI, WrappedDAI ETH, or Wrapped ETH DAI and SDAI USDEX. So he's a SparkSwap whale. I don't know why people do this, man. I honestly think that they just are confused about how the system works. Yep, he just got liquidated right there. I just went back and it was poof, he's gone. So let's refresh it and watch. His money's gonna be gone. Liquid loans. Yeah, he lost $1,000 on that. Yep, gone. Poof. $1,000. Bye-bye. So he had almost $11,000 and he took a $1,000 haircut because he didn't want to repay the 10K. Would you do that?
No, I wouldn't want to lose that big stack of Pulse. That was 10K worth of Pulse, basically, right? He lost.
This is what doesn't make any sense at all. This is what makes no sense at all. He withdrew an hour ago. He withdrew $8,700 out of his vault. The same vault he just got liquidated on. He withdrew $8,000. And he's just sitting on it liquid in his wallet on top of another $10,000. So he's sitting on $18,000 in Pulse in this wallet, thinking to himself, well, if Pulse goes down, I don't know what he's thinking, dude. What could he possibly think in this scenario? He's using this as a tax write-off. He's like, I lost $10,000. I'm losing my mind thinking about this, dude. Why would someone with...
Well, he gets to keep the USDL, right? So the only thing he loses is the Pulse, correct?
He lost net. Well, Pulse is down 7%. He lost 7% on his collateral today. And then the 10% on top of it, right?
Yeah. He's
down bad. I mean, he's not like going to be homeless because of this. The dude has over 100K in SparkSwap alone, farming SparkSwap. But for someone to make that stupid mistake to have, like, let's say you have $20,000 in liquid loans and you're like, you know what, I'm going to take $9,000 out. And then the rest of the 11,000 gets liquidated. Why?
I hope you guys don't mind if I ask a question here. I'm kind of newer to Hex. I've been in it for about a year. I got about 5 stakes. I'm on stake Hex today. And just watching, I've been following my T-shares and just seeing the amount of just raising the dollar of Hex and what your payout is. It's not making sense to me. I mean, I don't know if T-shares are that low or what, but I mean, even at Hex had $18 is showing me at very minimal profit. I don't know if it's something that I'm not putting my settings at right, or if I'm not reading it right, or if you guys want to educate me or.
Well, if you look at the APY because I mean, the number of T-shares and the amount of hex you get per T-share is kind of like it's an amorphous metric. What you actually want to look at is how many % are you accruing per year. Like if you can get that up to 10 or even like between 5 and 20%, it's not a huge amount of money. Like it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a way to build wealth over a number of years. Like 10% APY adds up.
No, I agree, but like about like a month or two ago, like I was playing with the same numbers and putting them at these same numbers. Like we're talking like thousands of dollars over hundreds of dollars. Like I don't know what makes that change on stake hex today. Like I said, I've only been this for about a year. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to stay educated here. But I just like I see my T shares staying the same. And even if I assume to that same dollar amount, it's just they're not the payout ain't matching up. Like I don't know if I'm just not playing with the settings right or if things are that in the hole or
well, over time, it won't stay the same. It gets worse and worse. Like T-shares get harder and harder to acquire. It costs more and more hex per T-share every day.
But if I have that already staked, my T-shares are staying the same. So T-shares are always going to continue to go down, is what you're saying?
No, man, that's not because you're looking at it in price. So you're doing the number one mistake is to not look at it in price. Because when you look at it in price, right? Then if you look at it in price, then you have to assume the price. Like you can't say like, oh well, what am I? No, your T-shares right now are going down just like the price is. There's no way that your T-shares are getting more valuable. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure.
No, for sure, but I'm talking about like hundreds of thousands of dollars to hundreds of dollars. Like I don't know if my settings aren't right here, or
I wouldn't trust that website. I would learn how to manually calculate it. I know it might take a long time, but you can average out like I'm presuming if you said you only did it for 2 months, it's very easy to just calculate the average. You know, like on average what you're getting.
I mean, I have the hex stake calculator pulled up if you want to just run through like a hypothetical simulated stake.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to learn. I mean, even if you guys are willing to listen to me right here now, like I'm just trying to ask questions and nobody wants to reply to me on my tweets. So,
we're always here, man. We've been here for 3 years, man. So don't worry about it. You're always welcome every single day.
Yeah, well, let's do a simulated hex stake. So I'm on hexcalc.net. I'm going to stake 1 million hex. You know, a few grand. I'll stake 1 million hex, and I'm going to do it for 5 years. So that gets me in 5 years.
But can you not do that? Can you do it for what he's doing? Because like we always take these numbers that are
you're going to lose me using a number way too big, right?
You give me the numbers to put in then. How many hex are we going to stake?
Do
the hex go down, but your T-shares stay the same. I got my T-shares have always stayed the same, but I mean like
no, your T-shares never stay the same, right? So your T-share first of all, you need to understand T-shares don't exist. It's hard to
I've been in this for about a year, but I've never chatted with you guys. You know what I mean? So I'm still learning.
No problem. You just have to understand that we've given a price to a T-share due to how much the T-share costs. But as the T-share is not physical, there's not an actually physical cost to your T-share. So yes, it might be right. The price might be right, but you have to assume always that the price of a T-share is always fluctuating with the price of hex. So yes, the T-share price does go up, but you need to look at the price of hex.
Yeah, I did. I was just like, I look at usually stake hex today because I can fluctuate with the numbers and play with the chart, right? So that's kind of why it's kind of what I look at the most. But I am on icosa and everything like that.
So I'm wondering if this guy can. By the way, you sound exactly like the Jackass star, the voice of.
Oh, my Steve-O.
Oh yeah.
To hexscout.com and comparing the two. Compare your existing stakes with stake hex today and comparing it the same on hexscout.com. And both of those places make it to where you can just enter your address where you have those stakes and it'll read them. There is no sign up.
But isn't that what stake hex does today, though? Stake hex today?
It is. And so what I'm saying is to problem shoot to see where it is that you click the wrong button or to make sure your data is right. But what I want to point out is that stake hex today has a projection feature, and you might have been reading the dollars, you might have been reading the hex amount. You need to be paying attention to because the price goes up, down, all that stuff. You need to be paying attention to how much hex you're earning per day. That's what you need to be paying attention to, and that's in relation to your T-shares. And sorry about the ambulance, I'm out.
I appreciate you. I sacrificed like the first, like I was an early sacrifice or a Pulse and everything. Not hex, I'm like only about a year in or whatever. But I mean, like Pulsechain, I'm early, but hex, I'm late.
But we got our copies 4 months ago. What was it?
Yeah, it was like 200 days ago.
Oh, so the Pulsechain copy. Yeah. I got those.
Yeah.
Okay, so all your staked hex on one chain is going to be copied over to the other chain. And so furthermore, like even though stake hex today allows you to switch between Ethereum and Pulsechain up at the top, there's a little toggle. You might go over to hexscout.com and be able to see a pie chart.
Kind of reconfirms like what I'm asking here, so I appreciate it because I'm not so like stressed out here.
Hey, I do know how to calculate that stuff on the calculator if you want me to crunch some numbers.
If you would, that'd be amazing. I mean, like just for shits and giggles here.
Hit me.
So, like, what do you want to know? Like, do you want to know like a t-shirt numbers, like a total t-shirt and final, like, or what do you want to know here?
Okay, well, let's just say 10,000 hex.
Okay, yeah, well, okay.
10,000 hex for 5 years, and let's say the price of hex went up to 10 cents. So that would give you half a t-share worth 20,000 hex in 5 years.
Is there any way that if I told you my total t-share amounts over whatever many years, if that, like, let's say 50 cents, could you tell me what that is worth at 50 cents?
How many t-shares?
1.3. I appreciate you guys' help here.
So let's say 1.5 t-shares would yield 25,000 hex at 10 cents would be $4,500, or at 50 cents would be $22,000. Yeah, dude. If the price goes back to all-time highs, like, you'll just be good. You'll buy yourself a Ferrari.
I'm not gonna lie, I probably bought it. I bought it about 4 times. I bought it about 15 cents, 20 cents, and about 5 cents.
Yeah, might be time to buy the dip.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you honestly, man, like lower your cost entry, your cost basis, and you could scoop up.
I know, but what would you guys suggest? Going on Hex or going on Pulse that they're at the bottom?
I just buy the Holy Trinity, Hex, Pulse, and Pulsex. And like my thing about
I'm not actually free like that.
Well, my thing about the price going down is it gives me an opportunity to lower the average price that I paid. Because like I don't really like to look at any particular price. I want to know cumulatively what's the average of what I paid. And like if you bought at 50 cents, you paid 50 cents for your hex. You can get that price down by buying more at a lower price.
No,
that's just kind of how I run my portfolio.
No, for sure. That makes sense. But like, would you almost bank on Pulse rather than Hex these days now? Or would you know what I mean? I know you guys like to do the whole trilogy, but I mean, realistically, I got to pick or choose.
Well, look, at the end of the day, Hex is the only one that generates the yield. So if you're going to buy and hold something long term and hope that number go up, if the number doesn't go up, well, then you didn't earn anything for doing it. So with Hex, you do earn additional Hex just for holding your keys.